Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. Listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Context. I cut off my bio mother, Jan, 58 female, my older sister, Kat, 33 female, and my younger sister, Sam, 28 female, about 11 years ago. Jan was having an affair for 3 years, and Kat and Jan knew about it. Jan's affair partner bought Jan and Kat's silence. My dad found out eventually, divorced Jan, disowned Jan and Kat. I cut my relationship with Jan, Kat, and Sam since, and aside from some BS document I signed about Jan's inheritance, which stated I would not contest her will against my sisters after her death. We never had any contact since. My dad met and remarried a great woman, Linda, 2 years after the divorce. Linda has a daughter, Nat, who I see as my sister. My dad passed away last year. Fast forward to the recent events. I got a Facebook message from Kat's fiance, Ben, introducing himself. I decided to say hi, just to see what he wants, and we had a decent chat. Ben disclosed that Kat told him about me and why I cut them off. It piqued his interest, and that he wanted to know me a bit. I told him that I don't think there is anything much we have in common to know about each other, but he was into cars like myself, and we talked a bit about our current project cars. Ben surprised me then by asking if I would like to come to the wedding. I politely told him no, as I don't think I'm interested in that, given I've nothing to do with all of them. He told me he understands, and to let him know if I changed my mind, which I said I don't think I will, but we can be Facebook friends as long as there's no talks about Kat, Sam, or Jan. We talked a bit here and there, but there wasn't much conversation as of late. Couple days back, I got an angry message in Facebook from some account. It was Kat. She created a secondary account to blast me about ruining her relationship. There were some heated insults which really enraged me, especially about Nat. I wanted to reply, but since I didn't want to engage in drama, I didn't reply to her, and simply blocked that account too. I did, however, message Ben and asked him what is going on. Ben informed me that he has called off the wedding with Kat after Kat blew up against him for talking to me. He also says for now he is taking a break to assess whether he wants to be in this relationship. I said that I don't appreciate being blamed for this, and he was confused. So I showed him the screenshot of the Facebook messages from Kat, which I think perhaps was not a good idea. Hours later, I got a call from Sam from some other number to where she pissed me off as well, by blaming me for ruining Ben's and Kat's relationship. I lost my crap and asked her what the duck is she talking about. I've never talked to Ben much, and while we are Facebook friends, the only thing we talk once in a while is about our cars. Sam told me I shouldn't have accepted being friends with Ben in the first place because he is Kat's fiance first. I told her she was being stupid. That's where I heard the second voice of Jan yelling into the phone to shut up and that I am still ruining their lives even after I have cut them off. I cut the call by that time when I heard Jan's voice. And this time, it was a long message from one of Sam's secondary Instagram accounts, calling me the worst brother ever, how she is glad that I am not her brother as well. There was plenty of other crap, but reading the entire thing just made me decide to shut them up. I replied to her, but she blocked me, so I unblocked hers, Sam's, and Jan's number, created a WhatsApp group, and just unloaded all the crap I kept to myself for 11 years, calling them names, telling them they don't deserve happiness, and they will never get it, no matter how well off they are. I made sure to write it in the middle of the morning, cause I wanted no replies. I told Kat that Ben deserved someone better than her, and I hope he dumps her permanently. I finally told Jan, even though she has stopped seeing me as her son now, just like I have stopped seeing her as my mother long time ago. I will always be a living reminder that her actions in the past will always prove she is a crappy person, and no matter how much of self-healing she does, she will come across me or hear about me, and knowing her own flesh and blood has thrived without her will always make her feel like a failure. I then blocked them when I saw the delivered in red sign and someone typing, deleted the group, and went back to normal. Ben messaged me yesterday telling me I have apparently caused some ruckus, cause Sam reached out to him asking him to forgive Kat, showing the message I sent in the group, hoping to get some sympathy, but Ben apparently told her he is not getting involved and his only issue is with Kat. Jan, after reading my message, apparently threw away all my childhood photos that she kept. Kat and Jan got rid of anything that reminded them of me and asked Sam to do the same. Sam was a bit more reluctant, cause she felt it was unnecessary to delete the childhood photos of us as kids. But Jan apparently had a total breakdown and told her it's either her or me. Sam followed suit when Kat told her I was never coming back to their lives, and it's best for them to accept that I am dead to them as well. I found it a bit too dramatic to know about this more, but it felt great to let out what I think of them instead of just building an icy wall to block them out. Ben told me he will probably stop contacting for a while, till he thinks about his decision, which I told him to take all the time he needs, and should do what is right for him. My issues with them has nothing to do with him. I woke up today to breakfast that Linda made, letting Nat mess with me, Linda just laughing about something. I realized that I am still loved by these two people, and they are my real family. Well, looks like Ben dodged a huge bullet for marrying into her part of the family. He probably had some suspicion of some toxic behaviors and figured he'd get OP's perspective. He got his answer and is trying to figure out if it's worth the risk to get married to a family that has a history of bad behavior, including covering up for someone's infidelity. OP doesn't owe his family anything, especially keeping their secrets. So well done, OP, for saving Ben from misery. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Snoo Word says, sounds like Ben wanted some info on the family and has learned how toxic they are. Not the Papa says, Ben had some alarm bells going off when Kat told him about you, which is why he contacted you. He then learned about a side of Kat he did not appreciate much, and she then showed him who she truly was by blowing up on him over it. So he dodged a bullet. Not your fault at all. My husband has a 13-year-old daughter with his high school sweetheart. They met at a prestigious private school my husband had a scholarship to, and the pregnancy was a big scandal at the time. My husband is successful in his career, and so am I, but we are nowhere near rich. His ex comes from a very wealthy family and lives a highly luxurious life. She's a bit snobby, but has been kind to me throughout the time we've known each other. We just came from two completely different worlds. We get his daughter for a week. We have a 3-year-old. Last week when my stepdaughter was over, we went to the stable she keeps her horse at so we could go horseback riding. She has a horse, but she doesn't see it often during the school year, so I told my husband we should make it a habit to bring her when we can. We went, and she was riding her horse, and things were fine. I didn't even notice her outfit, but it was designer head to toe. Her boots got really muddy, and she ditched them there. We didn't find out until we were in the car and noticed she had only socks. She threw them in the trash. We were 15 minutes away, and I didn't feel like turning back, especially knowing she has hundreds of shoes at home. What's one pair? I was shocked, but I know she's into fashion, and they were from seasons ago, so she didn't care. When we sent her back a few days later, her mom calls furious. She said those shoes weren't her daughter's, but were from her own closet, and they were vintage Hermes riding boots, and they were in good condition, and she can't believe we would let her wear those to the stable, let alone let her leave them in the trash. She said it would take weeks for new ones to arrive. We just couldn't believe her anger. We know she throws away clothes and shoes like no other, so why complain? Just because they're vintage? She wants us to pay for half. She said that if they were from last season or from the past few years, she wouldn't care, but they were vintage, and finding them in her size makes them expensive and blah blah. My husband agreed to settle the peace. He sent her half. She sent the invoice, and she needed ones in near perfect condition, making the price $2,000. My husband asked me to send him half, so $500, and I refused. He's saying I'm an a-hole, since I was there too, and was the driver and refused to turn around for them, even though we were 15 minutes away. Am I the a-hole? OP's stepdaughter took her mother's shoes without permission, wore them to the stable, and then threw them away instead of cleaning them. Her mother needs to take this up with stepdaughter, not OP and her husband. It's obvious stepdaughter hasn't been raised to value anything at all. That's not OP's fault. Also, child's mother must stop sending such expensive items with her daughter, knowing that she is this careless with her belongings. Anyway, she is OP's husband's daughter, so I don't see why OP should have to pay. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Bacon, Egg, and Cheese SPK says, not the a-hole. This literally has nothing to do with you. If your husband wants to give his ex $1,000, he should. But this has absolutely nothing to do with you. What your stepdaughter wears to riding or anywhere else is not your business, and you should not give 1 cent toward the new boots. Sadder but no wiser says, everyone sucks here. Stepdaughter should not have thrown out the boots. You should have returned to the stable to pick up the boots when you found out your stepdaughter threw them out. Even if you weren't aware of how expensive they were, This was a moment where you could have taught your daughter, by example, that you don't just throw things out. If the boots were so danged valuable, then both your stepdaughter and the ex should have made it known that they were valuable. It's unreasonable to expect you to identify designer boots. Ultimately, though, you were the adult on the scene. You made the wrong call when you decided not to go back for the boots. So I think you bear most of the responsibility for their loss. Jamboree Junket 62 says, "You're the a-hole. Your stepdaughter is not an adult, and you know she's wearing designer clothes that could be worth a small fortune. Even non-designer riding boots aren't cheap. You go back, grab the boots, and let her explain to her mother why they're covered in mud and destroyed. Even if it wasn't expensive designer stuff, if you didn't buy it for her and she wore it to an event you took her to, it goes back with her to her home for her mother to decide what to do with it. Self-preservation, my dude. You're the one that refused to turn around to go grab the boots. You owe part of the replacement." I, 27 female, have been in a relationship with my boyfriend, now ex-boyfriend, 27 male, for 5.5 years. We're originally from X country, but moved to Y about 3 years ago. Despite my boyfriend having a bit of a nasty temper, he treated me well overall. We met in college, and during a challenging time, I supported him financially and tutored him for free. After college, I helped him land a great job. When I got a job in Y country 3 years ago, I assisted him in finding a job there, and even covered his flight tickets. I've even met his parents a few times, and they seem like nice people. Fast forward to 6 months ago. A random girl, 27 female, contacted me on Facebook, introducing herself as my boyfriend's girlfriend. She's in X country, planning an online surprise birthday party for him. Apparently, he told her I was his close friend, so she wanted to invite me too. Here's where the part that I might be the a-hole begins. I continued the conversation with her like everything was all right, so I would gather as much info from her as possible. She and my boyfriend had been dating for 8 years, 5.5 years overlapping with my relationship, and they had set the date for their wedding in 6 months. I felt blindsided, livid, and was utterly depressed, so I confronted my boyfriend about this, and he didn't even bother to hide the truth. He said he had no choice but to be loyal to her because she's the one that he met first, and everything was planned for the wedding. I asked him what would become of me and why he did this to me, but all he said was that these things happen. He would continue his relationship with me even after his marriage, and that I should suck it up since he was apparently doing this as a favor to me. So I spent the next few days pretending like everything was okay. We didn't meet in person, so it was easier to just pretend. Meanwhile, I documented pictures, screenshotted chats of everything we did during our 5.5-year relationship, and made them into a folder. Then, I contacted his other girlfriend and sent her all the proof. She initially thought I was lying, but after going through the evidence, contacted me again to apologize. She also provided proof of their relationship. To our disgust, we discovered he had given us the exact same thing for birthdays, anniversaries, etc., with identical pickup lines, identical messages on some days. Prior to moving to Y country, there has even been days when he had spent the morning with her and the afternoon with me, and vice versa. Anyway, she broke off the wedding, and my now ex-boyfriend is demanding that I reimburse him for all of the money he had spent on the wedding planning, approximately USD 6,000, because I ruined both his wedding and life. I have refused to pay him, and also cut off all contact with him, but he reaches out using new numbers, sends messages demanding compensation. Well, if it isn't the consequences of his own actions. He is being ridiculous for demanding this from OP. OP is the one who should demand to be paid back for everything she has given to him during this fake relationship. OP needs to cut contact and tell him she will sue for harassment if it continues. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Kwayamashi says, "Not the a-hole. It's not your fault that he's a cheater. I don't know what he was thinking about, having a wife and a side girlfriend. But if he told his future wife about you openly, he should have thought that you can communicate and connect the dots. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. He ruined his own life, but also hers and yours." Fragrant Economist 386 says, "Not the a-hole. So he wants to be reimbursed for his wasted wedding planning, does he? Ha! I could say a few choice things about that, but that would end up getting me banned. I think you should send him a bill for everything you have given him over the years and sue him for breach of promise. Let's see how he likes them apples." Wolf Goddess 77 says, "Not the a-hole. At first, hearing about everything you did for him, I was going to say that he sounds like a leech, but wow, I was not expecting the double life. This is completely his fault and his responsibility. It's his mess to clean up. You don't owe him anything, except maybe a firm boot in the butt. I, 20 female, was attending my eldest brother's, 34 male, wedding to my sister-in-law, 32 female, when this situation occurred. Some background info. My brother and sister-in-law have been dating on and off since they were 13 or 12. They broke up in high school and got back together when they ended up working at the same company, different departments. And I'm very close to both of them. They've often cooked for me, done movie nights with me, etc. I'd previously had discussions with my other sisters and sister-in-law about how awful proposals at other people's weddings are, and even joked when I was chosen as a bridesmaid how I was the anti-proposal guard. A friend of my bro and sister-in-law, we'll call him Alex, and his girlfriend Sophia had been together for a few years and were invited to the wedding. Later in the reception, I noticed him quietly talking to another guest and showed him a ring, to which, if I hadn't joked about being anti-proposal guard, I wouldn't have paid much attention to it. About 10 minutes later, sure enough, he starts talking to his girlfriend and goes to kneel. This is when I may be the a-hole. Seeing this, I swoop in and grab his collar and say, "You better not be doing what I think you're doing, freakazoid." And he quickly stands up, to which I say something along the lines of, "This is really rude to my family, and I'm happy for you, but I'd appreciate it if you didn't do this here." He called me an a-hole, but nothing else happened. 2 days later, they got engaged and apparently told people the story because friends of Alex, I assume, started messaging me on Instagram saying that what I did was rude and it wasn't my place. Alex particularly said I ruined the surprise and made a comment about me being foolish. Sophia, however, said she was glad because she hated public proposals, but said I was patronizing to her fiance. I feel a little awful about what I did, but I was just doing as told and wanted this day to be about my brother and sister-in-law. So, am I the a-hole? Wandering Storm says, "Not the a-hole, not in the slightest. There are some places that are simply not the time to propose, and at someone else's wedding is probably first on the list." Ariel King 10 says, "Not the a-hole. They'll get over it. Do not message back. Whatever the F other people think, you did your designated job. Also, proposing on someone else's wedding is just tacky. Way to steal the couple's thunder and use their paid wedding flowers, guests, and location to make your proposal look good on social. Sorry, but you did a good job." Antonio Bolonio says, "Not the a-hole. Honestly, who cares what any of them think? What did your brother and sister-in-law think? Their opinion is really the only one that matters. On top of that, it is kind of funnier to me that this is just some coworker and not even a relative. Like, buddy, unless the whole workplace is there, you are outnumbered by people who don't know and don't care about your proposal at their relative's wedding."